This episode is brought to you by me, Matt Chiano. Go listen to my stuff on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere else, Deezer, YouTube, I don't care. Yeah, that's me. The EP is out now. It's really good. There's a Counting Stars music video. Came out the same day as the EP. That's also really good. Go watch it. Go watch the video. Go listen to the EP. And then stick around for this podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of Shenanigans with me, your host, Matt Chiano. And with us, this episode is none other than the famous, the sexy, beautiful Ty Walker.
I don't know about any of those things being true, but yeah, thanks, man.
Come on, give yourself a break. You want to introduce yourself before we kick things off?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ty Walker. I am a drummer, full-time musician. I think that's the kind of pocket intro,
I'm
super
Ty.
quick bio.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm Ty, I'm a drummer.
I hit things for a living.
And also kind of a guitarist as well, you know?
Yeah,
you played some stuff there.
Bit of a guitar, yeah, a bit of guitar, a bad, dodgy rhythm guitarist at best, but yeah,
Underselling yourself.
And then
classic musician.
do a bit of video editing as a side hustle as well, that sort of stuff. But yeah,
I forgot you did that stuff.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, and I don't know why you would know, I've known Ty for a number of years because we met at Note Machine,
yes,
which is one of the first things I want to talk about.
Yeah,
because
okay, yeah.
This is one of the one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on this podcast was because you are one of the only people that I know that left like a full-time job to do music.
Yeah,
and I just want to know how.
How? Why?
Yeah,
I think it was the culmination of a few things, but the main thing with it was actually, Petey from North House, where we're filming this, helped me to kind of take the leap big time. I was gigging a lot with bands and doing a lot of like cover stuff and like depping with a bunch of different bands and flying around. And I was like making a bit of money doing it. And I was like, if I had more time, I could do this. And I know there's so many guys, like, you know, you do these gigs in pubs in the valleys and stuff, and there were so many of the old boys who were like, I used to be in a band back in the day, see? But I got a wife and kids and I like to work and I just don't do it no more. And I was like, I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. Like, I want to just like give it a go. So I gave myself a year. And I think that was like the big thing where it was like, and also just the fact that being a Note Machine, I fucking hated it. That shift pattern, working like corporate work, just wasn't for me.
You were on the 4 on, 4 off.
4 on, 4 off. 12-hour shifts. Yeah. So it was just soul destroying, and I didn't have any time to do music. Yeah. Because I was doing that, and I think it was starting to really wear me down, and I was getting like really depressed. Like I wasn't playing and was kind of just like losing my skills. But then when I did get a chance to play with bands, I was loving it so much. So I think it was that like, maybe I can make this work. So I just hit the like big screw it button and was like, I'm going to give it a go. So I gave myself a year. It took 2. The first year was just like, what do I do? What have I done? I've ruined my life. And then, I kind of figured out like a business plan, like a loosey-goosey. I like set up my business as a musician and went through like universal credit and all that stuff and kind of went in with a game plan with them to be like, no, I'm setting up a business as a professional musician. And I had to make ends meet and do that's why the video editing came in, because I'd done editing for like my own vlogs and stuff for YouTube and
I remember those,
and drum covers and stuff. So like I had a rough idea of how to video edit, and then I got really lucky that I met a guy who was ex-BBC, who lived like in the town across from my parents where I was living at the time. And he was just like, he put up in like a local Facebook group. He's like, does anyone know how to video edit in Premiere Pro? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so he gave me a load of editing work, which helped like financially just to kind of keep things afloat while I was still doing these other dep gigs and kind of bits and bobs. It was all cash in hand. And then end of 2018, start of 2019, I went full time, like properly doing it. It was like an official, like I am running my own business now. And then, yeah, stuff was going well. I joined a wedding band. Like, that was all chugging along. I had like a fairly steady income. And then COVID happened. Yeah. And like the world ended.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it was such like my luck, like typical timing where it was like, this is all working out. Like, yeah, cool. Like, I can do this full time. And then like we had a tour with John Adams, who I work with, which is hilariously named the Kiss Every Stranger Tour. So there are literally posters that say John Adams, Kiss Every Stranger 2020, and we toured in January, February, March. It's like, oh my God, the timing on that is so bad now. But we... so yeah, like it was all working out, and then yeah, I just did like nothing. Then it was like all my work just went overnight, which was terrifying.
So was the original plan now, like when you left Note Machine, you were like, I'm just gonna gig a lot?
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, I'm earning like not the same amount of money, but like I was enjoying it. Like it was a massive pay dip, but I'd like moved home and was living with my parents at the time, so it was like I've got that little safety net to be like, I haven't got outgoings right now, so I can give it a go.
Yeah.
And then it was 2021 post COVID when everything opened back up. I earned the same amount of money that I was on at Note Machine from gigging, and it was like was such like vindication. I was like, yes, like I've done it. Like I got out and I'm doing it. Like a lot of it's wedding work and corporate stuff, and you know, which is not ideal, really. I'd love to be touring the world, with original artists and stuff, but as you know, like it's super hard and there's no money in it, right? Like unless you're Taylor Swift, like you're not earning the big bucks. Yeah. So yeah, it's tough. So you've got to like supplement your income with other things and make it work. But yeah, I love it, man. It's so great to go to work and do what you love every day.
Was it during COVID you did those YouTube videos where you did like a song every day?
Yeah, John 365 was an idea. So basically, in lockdown, all my work disappeared, and then
so I'm just gonna do a song every day.
So I was like, I was bored, like I was climbing the walls, I was just going insane because I had nothing to do. And like I didn't have any drums in the place I was living at the time. Like I'd moved out of my parents by then, and so I was just like, I had nothing. I just do something. So when they eased lockdown restrictions a bit, I could go out to my parents to like a little studio that I built up at my parents' place. And I just had the mental idea. I was like, I'm gonna, because again, just lockdown boredom. So I was like, what are the like stupid annual holidays for every day? So it's like, it's National Pie Day, it's Diwali, it's whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. So I made a list, like a massive Excel spreadsheet of like, so I started it on my birthday in 2021. 2020 into 2021. So June 2020 I started it on the 13th on my birthday, and then went right through to the following year, and I marked out like every single day like what weird holiday it was, or if it was like Christmas or whatever, like that's a given, but like I marked out every weird holiday, and then like found a song that kind of loosely linked to that holiday. Right, okay. And then so like it was cool because it was something for me to do. Two, it was like I was keeping my chops up playing. I also got to play because I tried to tie in a song with the holiday. Like I remember one of them was like National Vegetable Day, and I was like, I got to find a song to do with vegetables, and I found like Call Every Vegetable, Frank Zappa, which is like a song that like I wouldn't necessarily play. So like it kind of pushed me stylistically into trying different stuff, playing stuff different songs. That makes sense. Stuff that I wouldn't normally do, but it also meant that I could kind of showcase my playing in loads of different styles. So from a business point of view, it was quite good because it was like,
they're like, what's your CV?
I'm like, I got a video a day every day for a year, like 365 minute long ish videos. And also it kept my editing chops up, and I learned a lot about like recording drums, recording for video, editing drum audio and stuff. Like I don't think if I had done that, I wouldn't be as good at like that video editing and music editing and stuff. And I'm still not amazing at it, there's like but I can definitely now confidently be like, if you want a drum track recorded in a house, I can do it. And again, as you know, because we go loud and stuff.
We did it. The one thing that like I've seen quite a lot now on like TikTok and stuff is like people will like live stream themselves playing drums, but they'll take like the requests from people like from watching chat. And stuff. This is one guy I see all the time. I don't know where he's from. He's from Wales somewhere because he plays in front of a big Welsh flag.
Oh, okay, cool.
But like I see him all the time on my feed, and like he just plays for like hours, hours and hours, and like he'll just take requests off people, and like I must be doing well because he does it like pretty much every day.
Yeah, I started doing a bit of streaming in lockdown. I was like, when I wasn't at the studio, I was just like streaming video games and goofing about. But yeah, I did a little bit of like live streaming drum stuff. It's hard to live stream drums, and you always get people that just request the most ridiculous songs. It's like, play Bleed by Meshuggah. You're like, dude, it's so hard. Like, come on. Like, can you not pick a Green Day song? Like, please. Like, I can play that.
You don't want to hear Holiday or something? Yeah. For like the 6th time. Like, I don't mind doing it again. So when like you left Note Machine then, or any full-time work, did you have like any regrets over the way you did it? Like, do you wish like you maybe left it a bit longer, or like do you think at that time when you left you were like, this is the perfect time to do it, or like?
Yeah, I think for me, it was the right time to do it because I was just so bummed out.
Yeah,
being a Note Machine, I was like really low. As well as like everyone that worked there was great. Like like well, the majority at least. Anyway, it was like like yourself.
The majority.
It was great. It was I just think it was that corporate workload. It's just it wasn't me, and I was trying to. I think it was that post uni. Like I did pop music degree. And then, so like, I've been doing music since I was 13, like playing in bands and stuff. So I've always done music. And then I think it was that I just got a job at Note Machine because it was like, I need to get a real grown up job.
Yeah,
And then like, you just kind of fall into that, like, and so many people, like even now, I've been in this, years now, and it works. I have a flat, I pay my bills, I don't worry about stuff. It's cool, it all ticks over. But people still go, like, what do you do for work? I'm like, I'm a musician. And they're like, yeah, what do you really do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, mate, like, that is my job. Like,
But that's so cool that you can say that, though. Yeah. Like, no, that is my job. Like, I make enough money off of it where, like, I can sustain myself, I can pay my bills. It is really cool.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's hard. It's real hard.
Mate, like, I was so jealous when you did it. Like, I was so jealous. And
it's inspiring. Do it.
Yeah, I remember... do you remember Josh Roberts?
Yes. Yeah.
We would talk about it all the time. All the time. Like whenever I would like try and plan something music wise, and he's like, oh, keep this up and you could leave like Ty did. And I'm like, I know.
Get
One
out,
day.
man.
Yeah. I'm not there now.
Yeah, you're free.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was hard. And I think it was the right time for me. I probably could have left it another 6 months just to have a little bit more of a buffer financially.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was at that point where I was just like, if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to fall into like being comfortable in a job that pays well. And it was a nice wage, it was easy, I was, like I said, 4 on 4 off. I could just go in and kind of punch the card. But yeah, that's my idea of hell, that like just that work 9 to 5 cycle. It's like, and now I like the kind of chaos. Freelance. It's fun.
Yeah. If someone was to ask you, they're like, Ty, I'm a musician and I'd love to do it full time. How would you recommend that I would? Oh, not me, but say it was me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how would you recommend me to go about it?
I think it's a massive part of it is like networking. You've got to have a good network of people around you. And like I said, I was really lucky that I had Petey on board. And just people who are willing to give you advice.
Yeah.
An honest advice, not just like, you're gonna be amazing, you're such a talent. Like that, like, thanks, but like actually like, how do I earn money so I can eat?
Yeah.
Like to do that. So I think that, and also like, don't be too precious about your art form in a brutally honest way, where it's like, a lot of my money comes from playing weddings. Like, if you'd have said to me, do you want to be a wedding band drummer?
You'd be like, oh, no.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
mate, I want to be, I want to be Trey Cool.
Yeah.
I want to be doing that. But you've got to kind of be realistic about how you're going to, pay your bills.
Make enough money.
Put some food on the table. So like, stuff like that pays. So you've got to kind of go where the work is a little bit. And making it work. Like, sometimes you've got to be a bit thrifty. You've got to think a little bit outside the box of how you, like I said, how you're going to earn money, how you're going to make work. So if it is just live streaming on Twitch and using that, like, make it your job. Like, treat it like a job. Don't be like, you know, oh, I'm freelance, I can just get up whenever I want. And like, you know, like when I first started, I was like, I would get up, like I work weird hours. Like I tend to like get up about 10 o'clock and I go to bed about 2. Like that's kind of roughly my sort of natural body cycle. But it would be like, I would be up at 10 and I would graft, like looking for work, trying to find bands, musicians, you know, like musicians for hire type places, and just like harassing people on Facebook, like, do you need a drummer? Do you need a drummer? Do you need a drummer? And a bunch of gigs, like dep gigs that I did, sucked, you know, like, or they were like good gigs, but they weren't right for me. One band that jumps to mind was like a blues rock band. And they were great. They were great musicians, but it was like, they would just turn around like for gigs and be like, oh, you know this obscure blues song from the 70s? I was like, dude, I was born in 93. I've never heard this before in my life. He's like, he'll figure it out. I'm like, oh my God, like, okay. So like stuff like that was just like, this is cool, it's paying, but like this is so stressful. Like I did a gig with an Elvis impersonator.
Sick.
We did the Porthcawl Elvis weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It was really
my nan
fun.
loves that.
It's crazy down there, dude. Like it's 3 days of just non-stop Elvis. It's nuts. Like I was only there for like 6 hours in total, like including our set time, which was like 2 hours. But like that was the craziest day. Just like there was like 4 other Elvis impersonators on before we did our set, doing the same songs. It was mental. But like do stuff like that. Like again, if you'd have said to me like when I left Note Machine, like, oh, do you want to play in an Elvis band? I'd be like, no. But you just. So you've got to say yes to stuff and just kind of, saying yes is a big thing. Just say yes to as much as you can. And yeah, just like I said, not being precious, like be precious about what you do, like take yourself seriously with what you're doing, but don't be like, I'm only going to play this type of music, because like you just won't do that. Like it's so hard to do that. So I've done all sorts of weird and wonderful gigs, but you just make it work. Yeah,
I get what you mean, because I think it's a learning curve for like most musicians that you gotta like get over, where it's like even when I started in like my first band, I'm like, nah, I just play punk rock and pop punk. That's all I do. That is me. And I'll only listen to Green Day, and I'll only listen to Blink and blah blah blah. Yeah. And like you narrow your like
it's blinkers
career so much. Just
it's like
by doing
food.
that.
I always think of like music styles as food. Like I love cheeseburgers. Obviously, look at me. But like I love cheeseburgers. Like they're great. Yeah. But if you only ate cheeseburgers, like,
you're
how
gonna get sick.
boring! Like you're gonna get sick of it so much. So it's like it's sort of that question, isn't it? You know, it's like, are you into music? You know, you meet someone in the pub or whatever, and they're like, oh, what music do you like? And you're like, everything. They're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, no, genuinely though. Like, I will have days where I want to listen to like death metal. Yeah. And then I'll have days where I like, I really fancy listening to some reggae. Yeah. And like a bit of jazz. And like, or like, but I mean, again, I grew up like in the MySpace era of music. So yeah, like American Idiot's 20 years old today, the day we're recording it, which is like, that album is a seminal album in my life. So yeah, I grew up with Green Day and Paramore and Blink and, you know, the Kerrang bands, Fall Out Boy, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's like the stuff I love. But yeah, I listen to loads of stuff, and just like having that to be like, I'm going to listen to Bob Marley today because I can. And it's like, having that just knowledge a little bit helps then when you join like a cover band or something, which is, like I said, where the money really is weddings and corporate stuff. Yeah. And then, someone's like, oh yeah, cool, we're going to do a song by Lizzo. And you're like, cool. Yeah. Like, yeah, actually that's a really fun pop song. Yeah.
What? To talk about it, you had that gig and you played Flowers by Miley Cyrus, and you were like, this is class.
It rips, man. Yeah. Like recently I've been deafing with a friend's band, and we started doing Hit Me Baby One More Time, Britney. The drum part in that is sick. I never actually like really, like, you listen to it, but you don't, like when you actively listen to a song, it's different when you're learning it. And I was like, oh man, like the drum part is actually really cool in this. It changes like every couple of bars and stuff. It's really, really clever. Same for Footloose. I just did Footloose recently, and the drum part in that's wicked. And I was like, never would have thought that.
But yeah, that's one of the things that like gets on my nerves when like you talk to some people about music and genres and stuff, where they like they'll completely cut out genres. They're like, no, I don't listen to that. And it's like,
metalheads are the worst for it.
Yeah,
I used to be a metalhead, but like metalheads are the worst for it. Like, I only listen to thrash.
Yeah, it's like you miss out so much stuff.
You're only eating cheeseburgers, man.
Yeah. Really annoys me. And to be fair, like this is something that I've had to like come to learn with myself, like over like the last couple of years, where like. I'm no longer just listening to like punk music or anything. Like I listen to a lot of pop music now. I listen to a lot of like 90s rap music.
Yeah.
I love that stuff so much. Like I remember even when we were doing the last song we did, Trend, and I was like making more like hip hoppy sounding because
cool,
at that time I was like fucking listening to loads of it. But
yeah, like hip hop I love. I think especially for a drummer, like hip hop's built around groove.
Yeah.
So it's like I love hip hop, like Kendrick, people like that. It's so good.
And I only got into Kendrick this year, and I want to say it was maybe in May I got into him, and I can't tell you how many times I've listened to Pimp a Butterfly at this point.
That album is so good.
Insane how many times I've listened to it. Like it'll end, I'm like, back to the start. Like, it is insane.
Again.
It's crazy. Like I the first time I listened to that album, I was on a run and I stopped running because I was like trying to like figure out what was, because I think it was on the song I don't know the name of it, but it's like, you know, this dick ain't free, you know, that song.
Yeah,
that song. And like that was the first time I had listened to like a jazz kind of like rap song, and I stopped running because I was like trying to like figure out in my brain what was going on.
It's like, whoa, it just opens your mind.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
that's the thing, when you, as a musician, like you're listening to other genres, even if it's not your preferred style, you will take away a little piece of that.
Yeah.
That you then bring into your playing and your writing and stuff, and that gives you something that's a bit different.
Yeah,
you know, I think is really important, like because that is what influences are. You know,
100%,
you are a product of everything you've listened to, and you soak in not just music, art, and culture, and everything. Like you soak all that in, and then all of a sudden it makes something new, rather than just being like, if you only eat cheeseburgers, you're gonna make a cheeseburger. You know, it's like, because it's all you know. So yeah, if you listen to jazz, like I'm not a big jazz fan. I like some jazz, but like having just those little elements, suddenly you find yourself playing a little pattern, and you're like, oh, that's a jazz thing.
Yeah,
like, oh, cool. You know, I wouldn't have necessarily gone there without having that influence.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend Danny about this like months ago, because he does listen to like everything. Like if I'm ever in the car with him, like the playlist on like his phone, it is crazy. It jumps all over the place. But it's like it's fascinating, man, because like I don't know, I'll talk to him about it, and I'm like, I don't think a bad genre of music exists, because I'm like, if it exists already, then it's out there for someone, and someone digs it. Even if it's not my thing, I can at least respect it and be like, okay, it's cool. I might not dig it or listen to it, but like, I don't think it's bad by any means.
No, yeah, I 100% agree. I think good music is good music, irrespective of genre. Like it shouldn't matter. You know, what it is, like you said, if it's someone out there loves it, whether it's just like German hardcore techno, not my thing, but some dude loves that. You know, it's like, cool. Like, you do your thing, man. You're not gonna yuck your yum.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something I've always tried to like teach myself the last couple of years. Is like, why would I hate on something that like someone else loves, kind of thing, and try to make them hate it too?
It's just putting negative energy in the world, man.
I'm not into that at all.
No, it's like, it's pointless. It's a fruitless exercise. They enjoy it. Like, cool, as long as it's not harming anyone who gives a shit.
Exactly. It's daft. But so there are two bands that I really know you for. Because this is like when like, you know, we were doing stuff, and like not long after you left Note Machine. So I know you from Sweet Ignitions and Killjoys the most. Those are the two that like I know you for. What happened with those? Because like I saw them both. I saw you play both of those live.
What happened there, man?
Like, why'd they stop? Because like
Sweet Ignitions
both were different enough, and I enjoyed both a lot.
Sweet Ignitions was great. I love what we did with Sweet Ignitions. I'm really proud of the stuff we made with those guys. It was really cool. Kind of like Queens of the Stone Age-y, grungy rock stuff. I think that was just, we were getting a little bit of momentum going into 2020, and then I think lockdown just killed all the momentum that we had. And the guys, the rest of the band were all like in their sort of mid-40s, so I think like they all had kids and jobs and stuff, so it was that like thing I mentioned earlier, but I think it was...
Because didn't you get a song... One of the Sweet Ignition songs gone on like Kerrang radio and stuff, right?
Yeah,
I thought so.
Yeah, we got picked up for Kerrang like introducing or whatever it's called. Yeah. That was great. Yeah, I said we just we had this momentum, and then like lockdown happened, and we just didn't do anything for a year. And it was kind of any sort of rungs of the ladder we had climbed up, we just got like straight back at the bottom. And I think it was like for the other three, it was just like I can't put any more energy or time into this, man. We still chat, we're still good mates, so we have had a little kind of flutter with the idea of maybe doing something again, but I think it would just be for the lols. We never really did like a farewell gig. We just kind of announced that like on Facebook and Instagram and whatever, that it was like we're done, you know, like we can't keep going. And it was kind of much the same with Killjoys, really, where it was all kind of chugging along and it was doing all right, and then it was just, you know,
stuff gets in the way.
Life gets in the way of people's priorities have to shift, which is fair enough. And
it is. It happens far too much with bands, though. It
does, mate. That's the brutal thing. It's like we said, it's hard to do music, and especially full time. Like the commitment to that is brutal. Yeah. So I think again, like with Killjoys, is flutterings whether we'll do stuff again, but it's all just kind of we'll see. It's never like officially this is over and no. We've all got stuff going on right now, and if stuff happens again, then cool, and if not, we've got that body work. It's there forever. If people like it, it's still there. You can still go listen to it. It's on socials and things, and people have downloaded it. So I think that's like one of the reasons that like I started doing like the solo stuff was like I'm still in the band, I still love them, we still do stuff, but like I think it was during COVID as well, where I was like there was literally like nothing we could do, nothing, and I was like this is frustrating as hell. So then I started doing stuff on my own purely because I was bored, and it was just kind of like I literally can't do anything else. Like we were going to I remember we were booked in to record in Unit 13 not long after COVID started. And then I think, because they were changing like the rules all the time in COVID, you'd hear about it every week or something. So they were like, "Oh, we got to wait until like the week before to know if we can even do it." Then they were like, "Yeah, we can't. Like they won't let us open." So then the solo stuff started of me just like doing stuff in like a room in my house, like that was it, and posting stuff online. About,
just to do stuff. But I like there's so many like bands that like I've played with and I loved. Like there was this one band, they were originally called Angry Kid, and then they changed their name to something. Hostels, I think they changed their name to. I love them. I loved their music. I loved the boys in there. They were lovely. Really, really nice. Like I remember the first time I ever met them, it was bizarre because I had never experienced it before in my life, but like I didn't know the drummer like loved us, like our music in the band. So like I remember we were playing our set and like it was in Jackson, Aberdeen, and he was down the front by the bar like singing the words to like Generation Z Back to Me, and I was like, this is weird, like I have never seen this before. So immediately I'm like, I like him. He's cool.
I remember that first time we had people like with my first ever band, we were like ska punk, but we were more like punk than ska, really. And I remember the first time we did a gig in Brecon and people sang the words back to one of our songs.
It's weird.
And that for me was like this, like just that sealed it for me. It was just like, oh, I want to do this forever. That feeling of just like, oh my God, people actually like what we're doing. Like,
it's
cool.
Weird. Yeah, it's weird. But like I think they're just done now. Which is a shame. Like they released an EP and like it was cool. I was posting about it on like Instagram and stuff, and then they just kind of like they never posted saying like they were done, but like they just stopped posting. And I'm like, that's such a shame because I really, really dug them, and like I see it a lot then with like bands that we played with. Like life just getting in the way, and it sucks. I hate it. I hate it every time it happens, especially to the bands that I like, because sometimes you play with like other bands and like the singer or the guitarist is a knobhead and you're like whatever, like I don't care.
You're like, okay, yeah.
But like I don't know, I get really upset when like the ones that I really like and their music's really good and like they just just life gets in the way and it sucks. It really winds me up.
Yeah, it's the brutal thing with the music industry. It's just there's no money in it. So
I know. People have
to make ends meet, and sometimes it does mean getting a grown-up job and kind of having to knock it on the head. But it does suck. I'm with you on that. I know so many great bands that just don't do it anymore, or they occasionally have a knockabout, and it's like, oh man, just get back on the road. Come on.
Yeah. But the other band I want to talk to you about is probably I don't know if this is the busiest band you're in, but it seems like it's the busiest band you're in, the John Adams stuff.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
That's really funny, actually. We were talking about this recently. I was gigging with another band called Attics that Petey was involved with as well. And we were gigging, and we did, You and I Radio.
Not off the top of my head.
There's like an event, like a little gig that he put on. It was in the Nostar in Cardiff.
Okay.
So we were like the headline act, and then John was like an acoustic support.
Mm-hmm.
So I met him there. He seemed like a really nice guy. We got on. I think it was really early on in John's career as well. I gave him a business card to be like, oh, if you ever need a drummer, hit me up. And this is like when I was still like a note machine.
Yeah.
So I gave him a business card, and then like 2-3 years later, he phoned me and was just like, hey, you still playing drums? I was like, yeah, you still have my business card? Like, okay. So I jumped in with him because he needed a drummer to fill in for and then kind of take over for the like wedding band stuff that he does.
Yeah.
But then through playing with that, he was like, I really like what you do. I want to bring you into my original stuff as well, as part of the originals band that he's got. So we do both with John. So we do his original music stuff. We tend to try and tour that like in the winter months, just when it's quieter on the wedding front. And then we also do like the weddings and stuff. And the aim of the game, I think, was to try and like slowly do less weddings and do more original stuff. And then again, COVID happened.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the aim of the game with John stuff. But yeah, he's like singer-songwriter stuff. It's like Passenger, James Blunt kind of stuff, like kind of folky country lilt stuff. John's great. I really, really like what he does. He works really hard at his craft. It's nice to just kind of be part of a band, but not be part of a band in a way. Like it's very much his thing. It's he's running the ship, and I'm just kind of along for the ride I'll help out if he asks for it and if he needs it. Like one of the tracks on his album, Behind Closed Doors, I recorded the drum part for that during lockdown in my home studio. And then we got that sent off and mixed for the album and stuff. So there's lots of like cool opportunities like that I get to jump in and do. But yeah, I think we're just looking to gear that up slowly. But yeah, weddings is a massive part of that. I mean, we're doing like 100 gigs a year at least with a wedding band.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah, then plus the other stuff on top. So it's
Jesus.
It's a lot.
Yeah. No, that's cool though, man. Because I've seen like, because I think I follow the page on Facebook and like, it posts like really nice videos. Like that's one thing I'll say for like that thing. Like the videos are really nice to get uploaded and stuff of like the gigs or whatever, little promo videos and stuff. They always look really nice.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, John puts a lot of love and care into what he does.
Yeah.
So like, he's all in on that. So he's taking it real seriously. He does a lot of songwriting for other people as well. And
oh, really?
Yeah,
that's cool.
And he's trying to like up his repertoire more and kind of get in with bigger rooms with bigger people and that sort of stuff. But he works really hard. Fair play to him. So I'm just glad to be along for the ride with that.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I've always been interested in like writing songs for other people as well. But then a part of me worries that like I get annoyed. Like I'll write it and in my head I'm like, I know this is gonna sound, and then if I give it to someone and then like it sounds different, I'm like, that's wrong.
I think it's hard. I get it's that thing where you've got to kind of be proud of what you do and take what you do seriously, but don't hold on too tight to it. It's a hard balance to find.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by it. Like I was reading about like I was reading about David Bowie, and I was surprisingly, I didn't know how often he used to do that as well.
Yeah.
Especially in like the 70s and stuff, where he would do it a lot. And then like some of the songs that like wouldn't sell, he's like, all right, I'll do it then. Like he did, like one of his first biggest hits was "Oh You Pretty Things," and he's in the Hunky Dory album. But like he wrote and sold that to.
Oh, there's a terrible 70s version.
I can't remember who did it. But like someone else did it first, and then he was like, I'll just do it. But like he wasn't the original person to. It's I don't know. I just found it weird. And then I think he did like another one called "All the Young Dudes," sold it to
Mott the Hoople.
Yeah. But it's like that's his song, and then he did a version like years later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just crazy. And like I think his song "Suffragette City," he tried selling to Mott the Hoople, and they were like, nah, thanks. And then he puts it on Ziggy Stardust, and it's like one of the biggest songs on there. I'm like, I don't know. I've always been fascinated. Like maybe I could like try and write a song for someone else, but then I don't know. It just seems weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like giving up a baby. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's like you put all this love and attention into something, and then you go, here you are.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. Because like, if I write a good song, I will get attached to that thing, and I'm like, this is class. Like, I'm so proud of this. And the idea of just being like tenor.
It's hard. Yeah. I don't know how he does it, but he's so he's working really hard with that and trying to get in and work with other bigger people, and so it's, and then I think it's, I don't know too much about the process, but I think it's one of those, sometimes he gets attached to songs, he's like, no, I'm keeping this one.
Yeah. I think, I mean, even thinking about it now, I'm still thinking about the Bowie stuff. I know he wrote China Girl, that was in the Let's Dance album, and the original version for that he gave to Iggy Pop. So there's an Iggy Pop version out there, and it's just, I don't know.
I'd love to hear that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I can't remember what album it's on. I think it's on the Lust for Life. No, I think it's on the one before Lust for Life.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of it at the top of my head. But,
I'll have to hunt that down, but that rips.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I think maybe I could probably have a crack at it if it was like a different genre. Like if I was trying something out, I'd like maybe use it as a trial run and then see how it turned out. And if it's like good, I'm like, oh, like maybe I could do this.
Maybe, do it.
But yeah, then the two other artists that I know you for are mine.
Yeah.
Because you gigged with us once.
Yes.
At a Hell's Angels club.
That is still in my like top 3 weirdest gigs. You completely undersold that to me in the best way possible. I love telling people this story because it's so funny. Because it's just like, you'd sold it at the like, oh yeah, we got this gig. It's like a cover gig. It's just like a bunch of bike dudes. And I was like, the way you sold it was just like a bunch of guys who like having a midlife crisis. So I'm like, yeah, cool, man. I'll meet you there. We like learn the set, like turn up. I like drive down to this, and I'm like pulling into the driveway, and it's a fucking chapter house for the Hells Angels. And I'm just like, I pull up, and I'm like, that's the Hells Angels logo, like spray painted on that building. I'm like, uh-oh. I like pull up, there's just like 2 dudes sat outside the front, just like, hey man. And I'm like, hey, I'm with the band, and they're like, oh yeah, he's setting up in here. I'm like, okay, cool. Like go in, there's like fucking AK-47 mounted on the fireplace, and I'm just like, that's real. Okay. We're about to play a bunch of Blink-182 and Green Day songs to Hell's Angels. We're gonna die. And there was like the funeral for like one of their
like leader or something.
Yeah, so like they were all out on a ride when I arrived. So I like parked my car like right next to the clubhouse, and then like 100 Harley Davidsons turn up, and I'm like, they just like block my car in, and I'm like, okay. It was one of the best noises I've ever heard. Was that all those bikes coming out the drive? It was awesome. They were the nicest guys, though.
They
were
always
so
are.
lovely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember like it was a good fun gig. I really enjoyed the gig.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to get out, and I remember like we were like trying to reverse my car out and just be like, don't hit the bikes, because they were all just like stacked up next to each other. I was like, if I knock one of these, it's gonna go. I'd be dead. There's like, I think that was the quickest I've ever left a gig.
I remember because you got there, I think maybe 10-15 minutes before we got there.
Classically early for everything, always. Yeah.
And I remember coming up and I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And you were like, "They think I'm one of them." And I was like, "What do you mean?" As you were standing with your hair down and leather jacket, and you were like, "I've just blended in. They think I'm one of them."
I had my denim jacket on with my like Guns N' Roses patch on the back, and I was just like, "I'm gonna put this on just so they go like blend in, just assimilate, look the part." Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun. But yeah, oh man, I was like that might have been the most like shit in my pants before a gig.
Yeah,
I was like, oh boy, I hope this goes well, because if it doesn't, it could end very badly.
Yeah. Do you remember like their first PA system broke for whatever reason, and they wheeled it out, and like 5 minutes later a new one came in, and
some dude turned up with one on the back of a flatbed truck. Like, yeah, it was just like, where is that? Okay, don't question it. Like, it's the HA. But yeah, they were great guys. Fair play to them. They were great. Like, they were really lovely.
They've always been really nice. We gigged like twice for them. That's how I got that one, because we gigged for them down in Swansea before, because Gethin has a
uncle or something.
It's a foster brother, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Gethin's has like an older foster brother who was, I don't know if he still is, was like in their club. So he was like, "Oh, we're doing like a party thing down in the Swansea club, if you wanted to play." And we were like, "Yeah, cool." And this is like years ago. We still had Bradley in the band as a drummer then, and we got in, and it was the most terrifying entrance I've ever had to a venue, because I don't know what kind of party it is, because it was like November, it was freezing, we were playing outside, and like I was that cold, like I couldn't feel my fingers playing the guitar, like they were red, but they did have like a barrel outside with fire in it, so we were all like stood over it. But yeah, when we came in, I don't know, like again, I don't know what kind of party it was, but like everyone was like they were kind of dressed up but had like skull face paint on.
Cool.
And they were all like giant, like I mean everyone's a giant to me, so like everyone's like up here, just people looking like skulls. And I was like, yeah, we're the band. We just want to play all the small things. It was crazy, but like I was scared, obviously, like nervous as hell. Yeah. But like it was during that gig where like I realized how nice they were, because like there was one guy, and I'll never ever forget it, because it was one of the funnest experiences I had at a gig, where some guy was heckling at the back, and he was like, "Play CDC," and I'm like, "I don't know any," and he's like, "Play Motorhead." I'm like, again, I don't know any. So there's a bit of silence, and he goes, "Play Dr. Dre," and I was like, What? And he was like, "Dr. Dre, we want Dr. Dre." And I was like, "I know the words to Forgot About Dre if you want that." And he was like, yeah, do that one. So we set it up. So Gethin had it on his phone. And like it sounded terrible, but he put like the speakers, it's not even up to a mic, he put it up against his bass string, so it was like coming through his amp. So we had the music coming through his amp as I rammed out Forgot About Dre, and the guy was down the front absolutely loving it. His head was going, he was doing the words with me, he loved it, he loved every minute of it. And I was like, this is such a weird gig. And then like we did that, and then we'll always play like Alkaline Trio songs or something. And like after that gig, some guy ran down the front and he was like, "No one ever plays Alkaline Trio at a gig. I love him." And I was like, "Oh yeah, we love him too." And then like we used to end the gigs by playing "Lose Yourself" by Eminem, so we did that too. And then he was like, "And that "Lose Yourself" thing was like something from YouTube or something. I loved it." And like they were lovely, absolutely lovely people. So then when they were like, "Oh, we got another one down in like West Wales or something, do you want to do that one?" I was like, "Yeah, all right." But by the time that gig came over, like our drummer had left/kicked him out. It was weird. So yeah, then I asked you to come down.
It was real fun, man. It was a really good gig. Yeah, like going into it was just like so like completely did not meet the expectation of what I was expecting. I was expecting just a bunch of like middle-aged old white guys being like, "Oh, hey."
I mean, to be fair, there were two things I wasn't expecting at that gig. I wasn't expecting the AKs on the wall, and I wasn't expecting it to be like the anniversary of like their leaders like death.
Oh man, yeah, that was just like. I was just like,
I was about to play pop punk songs.
Yeah. Like, okay, Blink-182, I guess. Like,
I remember we got to the end of that gig, and I was so scared to ask for the money. like the guy was like fairly like drunk at that point too, and I was like, "Oh, you gotta like pay us or something." Thankfully, he was like, "Oh yeah, no worries, no worries."
I still smoked at the time, and I went to like go outside to smoke.
Yeah,
and one of the guys was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Going to smoke," and he's just like, "Smoking here, man." And I was like, oh yeah, I can. I was just sat behind my drum kit, like smoking. He's like, this is the weirdest gig I've ever played. It's not the weirdest gig I've ever played, but it is up there.
Do you have? Well, now you're gonna. Well, what is the weirdest?
Yeah. So there's two others. We did one, and Peter will remember this. We did one at the back of a pizza shop in Liverpool. We were on tour, and we turned up at this venue, and like, it's just a pizza shop. Like it looks like a takeaway, and we're like, the venue's supposed to be here. Like, we went in and we're like, hey, like, is the venue? And the guy's like, oh yeah. Just opens this door and there's this music venue at the back. And we're like, okay. But the stage was like really narrow.
Yeah.
So we basically set up like in a line. So I'm like at the back. Then it was PE. Then it was like guitarist John and then Chris at the front. So we're just like in a line. There's no monitors. There's just a vocal PA.
Yeah.
And it's like crappy old like Carlsbro covered in beer.
Yeah.
Like turn the knobs, it goes like just like, okay, I guess this is tonight's gig. And we were playing, and I'm like, just I can't hear anything. Like, so I just put my ears in. And I'm like, off we go. I hope you're in time with me. That was such a weird gig. And then the weirdest one was really early on. Like, so my first band was like a punk band.
Yeah.
We got asked by the music teacher of my school to play this like concert in the Clarence Hall in Crickowell. I was like, oh, cool, like big proper theatre stage, that'll be amazing. So the curtains are drawn, so we like set up, like, you know, the little three-piece punk band. We're like, yeah, cool, great, this is gonna be really fun, like cool little local gig. Like I was like 13, 14, so I'm like, this would be great, you know. Curtains open on the stage, and it's like a WI meeting. There's like stalls set up with people with like jams and scones and stuff, and I'm just like, we're about to play like one of our songs is called Dry Retching. Like we're about to play punk songs to like OAPs, and like we were just like, we're here, we're set up, let's just do the gig. So we played, we did like 40-minute set. We were the only band playing. Like, so we just played, and we used to finish with like a punk cover of Johnny Be Good. Mm-hmm. Like 200 BPM. It was so fast. and like we played it and they loved it. They were like, oh, I love that last one you did. And we're like, we so about like one of our songs called Gila Cow, and it was called like Take Off Your Trousers Please. Like it was just like really dumb songs, like dumb punk songs. And then, we just like, it was the weirdest gig, and everyone's like, that was really good, well done. And I'm like, was it? Like, did you actually enjoy us singing about drinking so much gin that you can't throw up? Like, it's just the weirdest gig.
Yeah, there's a place in Neath that's a lot like that pizza place you're on about. It's called like Afan Wines, I think or something. Okay. And it looks like a corner shop, and it is. Yeah. You're just playing in there. You're playing up against the fridges.
That's got big, like, what the fuck is up, Denny's vibes.
Yeah, it 100% is. Like, I think we were there last year or maybe the year before or something. And like we came, and it looks like a shop. It looks like a shop. And like we walked in, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, like the drums were in the corner. Literally, like behind the drums was a fridge full of like drinks and stuff, and like next was just stocks of like crisps and stuff. It's like, oh, you play there
like,
in the corner.
Middle of playing this Addictions, I was like, so, can I just
it's bottle of Coke.
It's like
it was one of the weirdest places, and that might actually be the weirdest place I've ever played, because it's a real small place too. Like it is tiny. Yeah. So the band setting up is like there might be room for like 4 or 5 other people in the place. The rest of people just stood outside like with their heads over. It's such a bizarre place.
I love when gigs are in weird little places like that though. Like it's really fun.
It is fun.
Like I grew up like gigging loads in Brecon. I was doing like Brecon Fringe Festival and stuff, and like that was so good. Like back in the day, because it was just like every pub had something going on, whether it could accommodate like a band and people. They just didn't give a shit. They were like, yeah, just get in, have a go. Like, and it was great. That's where I cut my teeth. Like playing live was growing up, playing there was so valuable to me, because you could be a crappy punk band, but they would just put you on, and people would turn up and be like, yeah, it was actually cool, like really, really good. And I remember playing like in the Boar's Head which is a restaurant, I think now. I think it's gone. But the Boar's Head there, I remember being like a limiter on the wall and just like hitting my bass drum, and it was just like red, and I was like, okay, like I guess we're just gonna have to figure out a way to not be plugged into that main socket because there's no way we should be playing in here.
Yeah,
but, yeah, it was great fun. Yeah, I love little weird janky pub gigs like that. It's so fun.
Yeah, they are cool, and you always get a cool story as well after that as well.
Yeah,
so you can tell people it's so much more interesting than having like a normal gig at like a normal place that goes well. Like they're cool, they're great to play, but like after it, you're like, it was fine, it was really good.
We played the songs, no one was out of tune, everyone sang the song, like right lyrics, like everything was great. Well, anything good happened? Oh, really?
Yeah. The other weirdest place that we've played was it's called like the Andrew Buchan in Cardiff.
Oh yeah.
And there's no stage, and it's a pub, but it's a narrow pub, but it stretches on quite a bit. And we were like, well, so where do we play? And he was like, at the back. So we're at the end of this really long like corridor kind of thing.
In a cannon. Like,
Fire exits were behind us.
Brilliant. Yeah, really safe. Yeah.
On the floor. Like it was such a weird place. But wow, I mean, we went back like 3 times, I think. So, like fun, it was just funny. Like every now and again, someone like drunk would like jump up on like the chairs and stuff, or like while we were like singing. And to this day, that was the only place where they asked, well, like people in the crowd were asking for an encore, and we were like, yeah, like we got something, and then they were like, nah, only original songs, and we were like, we played them all, like we have no more original songs,
we don't
and then they were
like, we can play another one again.
We can play the same one again, but it was weird. No one ever asks for an original song. They don't play one we know. But outside of there, you helped me on the first 3 Matt Keano songs.
Is it indeed?
Life is Fair.
Yep.
Going for a Walk, and Trend.
Yeah.
Ty's the drummer on those songs. Which again, thank you, because
it
helped me out a lot.
Anytime,
and still to this day, like I love Life is Fair a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that song. It's such a fun song to play. And like whenever like I'll talk to that's one of the only ones as well that people will like, if I'm talking about my stuff, they're like that one. Oh, thank you. It's like the most straightforward pop punk song I've ever done in my life. And people like, it's a good one.
As a keeper.
But yeah, those songs, when we did those, I had never recorded that way ever, because like we did them all separate. Like you recorded in your own studio.
Yeah, there's a little studio space out of my parents' place. Yeah. Yeah, that was cool, man, because I really enjoyed that. You just like, kind of be like, I want like a drum part, like kind of like this, maybe a bit like that. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I love working like that though, because it's great. And you, like, credit to you, you were on the ball with stuff. So it was like, I would send you a drum part, and like within an hour, you'd be like, yeah, cool, maybe a bit like this, like a little bit more of that. And it was really good. It was nice to have that like back and forth with like working remotely, because that can be, like I've done sessions with like some dude in Canada, and like just like sent him the files, and then like obviously because of the time difference as well, you have to wait basically like a full day before like I got the feedback. And I'd always get too excited. I'm like, I gotta listen to it, I gotta see what it sounds like. Yeah, it was great, man. I really enjoyed doing that stuff with you. It was really fun, and like, it was fun. Great. It was fun, but it is weird when I think about the way like we used to do stuff then, because like I would basically make like a demo in my house and like edit it on like Premiere Pro, like try and like stitch it all together and stuff, and like use like an online drum machine type thing, just so I have some idea of like a beat, just so I can play to, and then send it to you kind of thing, and be like, try and work something out for that. Dude, like you would be surprised how often that is the case. Like with a lot of stuff, like I work on, it's just people just like, there's like a drum loop on it, and they're just like, it's drum loop number 7 on Logic or like or GarageBand or whatever, and I'm like, cool, can you delete that off of it so I can like actually play some drums over it? But yeah, I think I think it's a good way to work, because it just lets you have that creative freedom. It gets out your brain. And sometimes, like, I might play a part that you wouldn't have thought of. Yeah, 100%. And then it's like that can spark other ideas. Then you 100%. I do that now. Yeah, I do that now. Like with James, we did 2 songs on the EP. Like I didn't tell him what to do. I was just like, we played the song for him a few times, and like if I had like an idea for something, I'd be like, oh, maybe like
for the chorus, do this part, whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not a drummer. You are. Like, you'll do something way better than I'll ever come up with. So I wouldn't, even in the band, like, I hate doing stuff like that. I don't like telling people, like, you know, play this on bass. I just try and let people, like, do what they're best at. Yeah, that's why they're there.
Well, I appreciate it though, because it's nice to have that creative freedom the other end as well. Because sometimes, like, I've done session work and people have been like, "I want this," and you're like, "Okay, cool." Like any interpreter, like, "No, just play this." I'm like, "Okay, like that's fine. Like I'll do that. Of course I will."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, sometimes it's nice to have that bit of freedom to just kind of mess around and try stuff. And see what fits.
It was just such a new way for me to write and even record songs, because then I would just take it to Unit 13 and I'm like, right, drums are already done. Like, here's the drums, load them up, and we'll just crack on and get like the guitar, the bass, and then the other bits and pieces of vocals, obviously, done there. And like, I was so used to obviously like a full band type thing and everyone being there that like I learned so much doing all that stuff and like just a different way of recording and stuff. And it's a bit more it's different with PD and stuff, because obviously we don't have drum tracks ready to go kind of thing. So it is making stuff. It does feel a bit more like recording with a band, I guess.
Yeah.
Here. But the band is just me and PD. And like James, who comes in on drums. But like, yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was really cool. And I still really love those 3 songs as well.
Thanks, man.
I still play them.
I love them too. Yeah, they're great tracks.
But the newest band, Guilty Party. My first question: where'd you get the name? Where'd the name come from? Guilty Rascals by any?
I've never thought about that, but shit, yeah, sorry.
As soon as I saw your pronoun, I'm like, man, he stole my name.
God, stole my name. Yeah, sorry, bro. It did not.
It's fine.
Completely unintentional.
We've changed our name. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I can't even remember how the name came about, actually. I think it was just like we had like a list of names. We were like, what works? What sounds cool? And we're like, that sounds cool. That'll do for now. And then it just stuck. Like, it was just...
Yeah.
Because the guys were already a band.
Okay.
So they were called Big Thing beforehand. And then they kind of started a change in sound because they were a bit more indie. And I think, they had a change of sound. I think their previous drummer was like, I'm not really digging the new sound. It's kind of not really my thing. So they were looking for like a more of a rock drummer. And I knew Dan, the guitarist. We went to uni together. So I think Dan shouted up like, we're looking for a drummer. Is anyone interested? And they sent over the 3 tracks they'd recorded, which is the first 3 singles we've released.
Yeah.
Which they did record with their old drummer. And they were like, oh, we want to like, this is the kind of new sound we're going for. And I heard those 3 tracks and was like, this is wicked.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really into this. So I met up with them. We had a little jam and it was just like, yeah, this works. You know, this is clicking. And yes, we rehearse like once a week now, and we just try and we've been a bit quiet just because we've been writing loads and just trying to like get a big batch of songs together so that, you know, we can gig and we can tour and stuff, because we had like those 3 songs and then it was basically a bunch of old Big Thing songs, but the guys were quite keen to be like, no, we want to be clean cut, like that's the end of that, this is this new chapter. You know, we didn't want to muddy the waters too much.
That makes sense, because I was gonna ask about that, because I was looking up the other day. I'm like, oh, I wonder if they put anything out. March this year, I think it was March.
Yeah,
was the last time Wanna Change.
Came out. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask. I'm like, are you still doing stuff? Like,
we are indeed. We have a single that is. It depends on when this comes out, but the 27th of this month.
Oh, sick. Okay, cool.
Is the next single that's going to drop. We're purposely not doing any pre-promo because we found with Unwound, the previous single before Wanna Change, we were really late organizing ourselves with stuff like that, and we got better engagement just when we just dropped the video, and it got better engagement online than when we did all the preamble up to it. So we were like, interesting.
Yeah.
So
it's
we kind of
forget.
so we're purposely not doing any preamble. We're purposely being quiet on socials so that when we do post, it's like singles out.
Yeah.
Go get it.
Yeah.
And just as kind of a bit of a test to see if that works better for us with engagement and stuff. Because I mean, I hate social media like for bands. I think like, but you have to play the game.
Yes.
You know, it's such a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's coming out, and then we've got 2 more singles recorded and ready to rock and roll. They're kind of locked and loaded. That we're gonna drip out probably 1 more this year, maybe the start of next year. And then we're going back into the studio again to record 2 more.
Nice.
That we've got. So we've got a lot of stuff lined up. It's just kind of drip feeding stuff through. But we've been quiet kind of on purpose.
No, that makes sense because I think the whole like preamble stuff and promo, unless you're already like a known quantity or like a band that's like famous or whatever. 1, no one remembers. 2, no one really cares unless it's already there. Like with the EP now, I think I only started telling people that it was coming out maybe like 3 days before or something. And even then, it was mostly on TikTok and stuff, just because I'm like, it puts a video out. But for like Facebook and Instagram, I think I even left it later. It was like maybe the day before. Yeah. Because then like it sticks in people's heads a bit longer. Oh, bless you.
He's exploded.
Yeah, it sticks in people's heads and be like, right, this is tomorrow, or even on the day, it works out fine.
I think people are more likely to be like, it's out now, and then they can be just immediately go to Spotify
100%.
or whatever and be like, oh, cool, I can listen to it now and add it to a playlist or whatever. Yeah. Whereas, when you're like, well, remember in 3 weeks' time on a Friday, people are like, I don't know what I'm doing in 3 weeks on Friday. Like,
and they forget. And you got to post about it all the time. So no,
that's annoying. And
yeah. That makes sense. I get that. Out of the 3 songs, though, I did want to point out Lemonade is my favorite one.
Yeah.
Purely because that guitar sticks in my head every single time I listen to it.
That riff is...
And it's just that in my head. It's just like the monkey with the cymbals going. But it's just that guitar over and over again.
It's cool. That's why the Lemonade was the track for me. Like they sent me Wanna Change, Unwound, and Lemonade, and Unwound I think was the first one I listened to, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. It's like kind of punky. It's got some hair in its balls. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wanna Change, I was like, oh, that's interesting melodically. That's really nice. And then Lemonade, I was like, that rips.
Yeah,
like that's such a cool song. So I was like, yeah, that was I'm in. And hopefully we'll kind of the new tracks got some nice like really punchy stuff in it, so I'm hoping that should kind of scratch the Lemonade itch.
Can you say what the new track is called?
Yeah, it's called Where Do We Go From Here?
Okay.
So it's quite a long title, but we
you've heard it?
He has, yeah. You have actually, yeah. There may be a live from North House appearing at some point in the near future as well. Maybe. Wink.
Yeah, where do you go to the same studio every time to record the songs, or do you try different places? Or where do you go? That's what I'm getting to.
The first 3 the guys recorded before I joined, because obviously it was that changeover from Big Thing to Guilty Party. Yeah. They recorded with Gethin Pearson. They went to his studio and recorded those. But since I've been in the band, we've been recording with Todd Campbell.
Okay.
From Phil Campbell, the Bastard Sons, in his studio. Out in Pontyclean, which is wicked, actually. Yeah, we had a really nice time there. We get on really well with Todd. We work well with Todd, I think, because we went in and did like this single just as like a standalone, and then the other 2 we did 2 tracks in 3 days. And there were a lot more involved. Like this one's pretty straight ahead, kind of just rock song.
Yeah.
The other 2 got a lot more going on, like loads of guitar parts and layers and stuff. And we were a bit ambitious, trying to do 2 tracks in 3 days, but we did it. And we worked hard really hard to fair play to him. But it was great, and we just knew that like that is a good working relationship. We knew that it works. There was no kind of airs and graces of like, oh, it's, maybe like, there was definitely input from Todd of being like, oh, maybe like try this, try that, this kind of sound. But it wasn't too much of like, oh, it's my studio, we must do it my way.
Yeah.
Kind of nonsense, because that just yeah, again, I'll happily do that and try stuff, but I think
much more restricted then in what you can try and do.
Yeah, and I think we spent so long in the rehearsal studio. That's why we've been so quiet as a band. We haven't gigged too much, just because we want to get it right. So we'll spend a lot of time in the rehearsal room hashing out ideas. So we're not wasting time in the studio working out ideas. We already know what we want to do when we get in there. So it's like we'll come in with a game plan and be like, right, yeah, we've got this guitar layer, that guitar layer, this drum part, that percussion layer, these vocal harmonies. And then once we've done all that, we're like, is there any room to add anything? Are we missing anything? So we're kind of, we're trying to box smart with it a bit and just kind of go in with a game plan, which I think is a good idea to do with the studio anyway, because I think, unless you're going in to write and to explore, there's kind of two ways you can go into the studio. I think you can either go in with no plan and see what falls out, or get in and smash it. Like it's kind of you want to go in and know exactly what parts you're playing on what song.
No, you always read about some artists where they're like, oh, I just came into the studio, I had nothing done, I wrote everything whilst I was there. I'm like, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, I think so stressful.
That stressed me out way too much. I feel forced into like writing something. It could be crap, but I'm like, it's all I have for now.
I think if you've got the money and the time as well, that's the thing with a lot of studio hire. That if you've got your own studio or you've big record label paying loads of money, then you can afford to do that. But for guys like us, we've got to just get in and get out, smash it out as much as we can. Yeah,
that's what we used to do. We call it Truica now as well. We're not guilty.
Oh, cool, yeah.
But I remember the last song we put out, Guns, Blankets, and Caskets, took us 2 hours to get everything done, because like we knew everything we needed to do. It was the last song we did at Unit 30, and we came in at like 10 and we were gone by 12. Like we had done everything, we smashed everything out. There wasn't like anything extra we needed to do. And the producer Tom was like, is that it? Like, are you good? And we were like, yeah, we got everything. No, I don't think I could do the. I don't know.
It'd be fun to do. I'd love to do that. Like John and I, we were speaking about like maybe doing like a hiring out like a Rockfield type thing or somewhere like that, and doing a big recording writing session. I'd like to do it at some point, but I think for like we said, everything's so expensive now, and it's tough being a musician. That's pockets are tight, so it's like you want to make sure that you're using that time you have in the studio as efficiently as you can,
be as productive as possible.
It's
cool with Rockfield because I believe you can like stay there as well, like overnight.
Like, it's a residential
have, like, rooms and stuff.
That
the idea of doing that does sound pretty cool to me. Like,
I'd love to
just
do that,
doing like book like a week if you can, and just like staying there for a week and like just get in like recording whenever you want. Like if you get a cool that sounds. Admittedly, if I could do that, I would.
Yeah, same.
But if I wasn't staying there and I'm like paying, God knows how much for an hourly rate, I think that would stress me out too much. And I'm like, I know I only have like a finite amount of time to like get something
find
done.
out about money.
That like, too. Because there was one post I saw the other day, and it was like some studio in Cardiff, and they were promoting like their studio time. They got like a sale going on, and it was like, we're only charging like 40 quid an hour, which like isn't terrible when you think about it. But like, I'm like, fuck, if I wanted to do like all day there, that's a lot. Or if I don't get everything done on the first day, that's like, I gotta get another day then. And you're looking at like, 500 quid or something. For
easily pushing $1,000. Yeah. Before you've even mixed and mastered it.
Yeah.
No, it's So I think with Guilty Party, it was like we wanted to be as efficient as we could be with the studio stuff. And Todd enabled that, and it's great. And he had great gear in the studio, and it just worked. It was one of those things where we just hit him up. We thought we'll try it out, see how it sounds, because the Gethin sound is really nice. But Gethin's quite a high end producer.
Yeah.
I think the guys had got like not like a grant, but like some kind of Arts Council funding to do some stuff with Gethin beforehand. With the previous band, so it was one of those like, obviously the sound that Gethin got was wicked. Lemonade sounds massive, so it was like we want to try and recreate that, but without having to spend a shed ton of money. So I think we're just trying to be smarter with our approach rather than playing in the Doll's House to 3 Man and a Dog. We're like, nah, I'd rather spend the time in the studio and working on the songs and just be like, when there's the demand to play live, we'll play live.
Yeah.
And just kind of trying to get on cool slots when we can and do the odd cool gig here and there. But yeah, just trying to be more picky with what we're doing rather than just kind of doing anything. I think we've all of us in Guilty Party have all been in loads of different bands through the years, so we've all done our time with playing, random crap gigs. Yeah. So it's like we're like, we know we can do it. We're happy to do it. Like we absolutely would play to anywhere, to anyone. But it's like if we've got the choice at the moment, where it's like, well, yeah, we'd rather spend it in the studio and working on cool songs and really honing them in and just making the best music we can. Yeah,
that actually blends in quite nicely to one of the things I did want to talk about. Because I think, if I'm honest, I think live music for local bands has been on the decline for years anyway.
Yeah.
I think with COVID, it's just accelerated it even more.
Yeah.
Because I think people assumed when COVID ended, they're like, oh, the pubs are going to be packed again and all these venues are going to be packed. If anything, it's the same as it was before COVID or even worse,
Yeah.
But like you said then, being a bit more picky and choosing the right gigs to play at the right time kind of thing, rather than playing anything and everything. We've started to do that with the band as well, where it's kind of because we used to any time there was an offer that came in from London or something, and we're like, absolutely, that's where we want to be. And it's every time we played that, it was crap.
Yep.
Terrible. We play into an empty room, and I'm like, this is no point in this. So we started just we'll just stay in Wales or push out to Bristol or something. That's fine. I got no issues with that. And plus, even with that, then I feel if you concentrate more on one area, it's easier to kind of build a kind of fan base, if you can, or a reputation for that area before then, moving on to other places and stuff.
You got to conquer your hometown first. I think that's always conquer your hometown. Then when people, if you're playing a gig and it's you pack out a gig in your hometown, it's okay, cool, maybe we could go
you expand
the nearest city. And then so it's for argument's sake, with me growing up, it was Brecon and Abergavenny.
Mm-hmm.
So it was we were getting some really good gigs in Brecon, really good gigs in Abergavenny when they used to have gigs in Abergavenny.
Yeah.
And then it was okay, cool, we'll go down to Newport. And we started doing Newport, and then that was going well. We did a few in Cardiff, and then it was okay, you start to slowly kind of expand. And I think again, that's really hard because a lot of venues are closed now.
Yep.
Places, a lot of it is it's just dumb stuff with venues, sound limiters.
Yeah,
one with weddings, but those type of things. You turn up and it's a 95 dB limit.
Yeah,
it's cool. You can shout that loud.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's I get why it's noise complaints and things like that.
Yeah.
But people they want the scene, they want the live music, the all that brings, but they're not willing to deal with noise. They're not willing to deal with the financial cost that comes to that. And the other thing is that there's always someone that will take the gig. So if you turn up and they're oh yeah, we're gonna pay the entire band 70 quid. You're that's not worth me driving here to play the show with, it's that old joke, isn't it? Is that what's a musician? A musician is someone that puts £5,000 worth of equipment into a £1,000 car to drive 50 miles to earn 20 quid.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but people don't, I think people don't value music enough because of maybe streaming services. I don't know what the cause of it is, but maybe it is that kind of disposable nature of music now, where people don't, I think if you play a show as a musician and you're walking away with £150 a gig, that's pretty good, but realistically, that's not a lot of money. By the time you factor in your fuel, which is expensive, it's going to cost me 60 quid to fill up my car. If I break a pair of sticks, they're £12 a pair now.
Yeah,
I'm already 72 quid out of my 150.
Yeah,
and I've not, that but people aren't willing to pay more than 100 quid for a band.
No,
to play their pub or whatever,
if at all.
Yeah,
the amount of times that we'll get a message wherever to play a gig, money never comes up.
No,
they'll never ever be like,
oh, especially in original music, like
it doesn't happen. Oh, unless they go like, oh, unless you sell like your own tickets. But I'm like, mate, no one knows that. What do you mean we're going to sell tickets?
How am I supposed to sell tickets when no one's heard of our band?
It's like, it just doesn't happen.
But no one can hear of your band if you don't play live.
Exactly.
It's this like catch-22 that I think everyone is stuck in with the music stuff at the moment, and that's why. And it's cheaper to hire a DJ, right? It's cheaper to hire a karaoke machine and do that. And it sucks because I worry about like the future headliners of festivals. I always look and like there are artists that can do it. Like there's amazing artists that are coming up now. Like I think Chapel Roan is incredible.
Yeah.
And like I can't wait to see what she does. And there are bands, but you think even back like to the 90s and early 2000s, like the quality of bands, like your Fall Out Boy, for example, they can absolutely headline a festival. They've got the catalog to do it. It's that wide appeal musically to stuff. But you think like now, it's just like bands that are around now. I'd struggle to name you, to fill a 3-day headliner slot without using legendary bands.
Yeah,
and it's like. That's tough. Like if that carries on, but I think Justin Hawkins says a really
big fan of him. I like his YouTube channel.
Yeah, his stuff. Yeah, Justin Hawkins Rides Again stuff's really great. He's really profound, and I think he summed it up really well. Where he talks about that you look at your whoever your legacy artists, your Bowies, your Stevie Wonder, Fleetwood Mac. They were inspired by incredible musicians.
Yeah.
And then you've got people who are inspired by Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And then the people who are inspired by that artist, and then they're inspired by that artist, and it's slowly just getting a little bit more watered down. And I think it's that like but it's because of how the music industry is, where it's that whoever's huge at the moment, like go out and find me another artist X.
Yeah.
So you get a slightly watered down version of that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I think it's that. I think it's a combination of those things. People don't want to pay for music. The quality of music isn't as good as it has been. It isn't even like 80s pop stuff. Like the level of musicianship that's on those records, like even if like Duran, like stuff like that. Like the musicianship in that is incredible. Yeah. Like it's really good quality music, and I think we're losing a little bit of that musicianship for popularity.
100%.
Record labels or whatever are more interested in how many followers you have on TikTok and Instagram.
Even festival owners. I signed up for a festival the other day, right? Not one question was like, oh, can we have a link? Can we see videos of you playing live? Yeah. They go, how many Facebook followers do you have? How many Instagram followers do you have? How many TikTok followers do you have? Yeah. That was all they asked. Yeah, I briefly spoke about it on like the last podcast as well, but there's a documentary on Disney about Camden and stuff, and it talks about like all of the artists and bands that have played in Camden and like made a career and stuff. And it is fascinating.
Madness,
right? Madness is one of them.
Amy Winehouse, yeah.
But the fascinating thing that I found out about it was you had all like the legacy artists who, when they would talk about it, they were like, yeah, we played this pub. We played, this one every Wednesday, got a following there. Then we played this one every Friday and built it up from there. Mm-hmm. And then it went to like the newer artists, and like none of them had stories about like, oh, I played this pub for a few times. I played this one. None of it. They just like, it was immediately like, oh, we started playing arenas and stuff. And I'm like, that is wild.
Yeah.
Insane to be like, and I think this is why live music for original bands especially isn't taken as seriously anymore, because it's like, for me personally, I don't think it's as important as it used to be. And I think it's all because of streaming, and I think it's all because of social media. I think you can do 1 or 2 gigs, every couple months, and you milk the hell out of it. You video it like crazy, make as many posts as you can, because the label people, the festival people, all they care about is your followers.
Yeah.
They don't care how good you are playing live. They don't care if you've like packed out a room in like, your local city. If that doesn't like equate to like your follower count.
Yeah. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it firsthand with stuff though. It's like, I've been in bands where we know we can fill a room.
Yeah.
Like we've got quite a loyal, like my early band, AP Suit that I talked about, like, we conquered is a horrible word to use, but like our hometown, like we knew we could fill a room in Brecon and we could fill a room in Abergavenny and we could probably do a damn good job of getting it filled in Newport.
Yeah.
Trying to get a gig in Cardiff, couldn't get arrested.
Yeah.
And trying to get onto festivals and things like that, people just didn't want to know.
No.
Because we didn't have enough MySpace followers as it was back then. Yep. But like,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's such a dangerous trend. So I think it's the combination of it being a popularity contest. You know, you could be the most attractive person blowing into milk bottles and you're going to get a slot over a band that's worked their ass off, but just maybe they're not great at posting on social media. So I think it's a combination of that. It's a popularity contest. It's the value of music, I think, where people is seen as more disposable. I think it's just the pay. I think people aren't willing to pay musicians.
No.
And if you like we said at the start of the podcast, where it's like it's hard enough being a musician. Music equipment is expensive. It's only going up in price. Yeah, you know, you have to. People don't treat it seriously enough so that they don't think they have to pay for it. And it's like if you pay for this stuff, that means that the musicians can get better. Give them spaces to play. Yeah. Give them, you know, like I said earlier, I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful that I got to gig in Brecon growing up because it meant that I could hone my craft. Like when I first started playing in pubs in Brecon, I was 13 years old. I sucked. Yeah. Like I thought I was amazing. I wasn't. I've seen the footage back from the dodgy, you know, hand camera, phone cameras. You know, Sony Ericsson phone cameras back in the day. I was like, oh man, that's rough. Yeah. But it let me learn.
It's a learning experience, yeah.
I would say it's a really great thing is that I think everyone should be in a punk band. Like when you first start music, because that was one of the best things I learned was like, you know, you look at whoever, if you're into pop music, you know, the big pop acts, you know, Taylor Swift, Dua Lipa, whatever, or you look at, you know, rock acts and you look at Foo Fighters or Guns N' Roses or whoever, and you know that just seems so unobtainable. It's so huge and just like, how do I get that good? Yeah. Whereas being in a punk band, like I played with some great bands and they were like, yeah, like we suck. But like that was like, oh, it was really humbling because it was like, oh, okay, well, if you can do it, I can as well. Yeah. And I remember like. Before we started the podcast, we talked about TJs in Newport, and I remember like I got to play TJs, and I remember being stoked. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm playing like the legendary TJs, you know, Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love and all that." And we played. It was us as a 3-piece punk band and this other 3-piece punk band, and that was it. No one else there apart from John Sicolo. Who ran TJs, who sat at the back by the bar, and he came up after and was like, I really enjoyed that, and he was like, you guys were great, like you played like the room was full, and like I wanted to bring in. He brought us back for a few more gigs, and it was great. And then like I got to see Army of Freshmen there, playing TJs. I was like, I've been on that stage, and like Army of Freshmen opened up for Bowling for Soup on the Get Happy tour, later that year, and it was like. Dude, like they're playing with Bowling for Soup. Yeah. They play the same stage that I have. Like there is a line here that I can see. Yeah. Whereas like now I think that line doesn't exist. That's why I always respect Coldplay as a band. I know a lot of people rag on Coldplay. Like,
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
But like
they were on the documentary too. They started out by playing like the small places.
Yeah, they did it the right way. Like they started playing crappy little pubs, and then that became like slightly bigger rooms to like actual venues, to colleges and universities, then to like academies, then through to stadiums, to now being like one of the biggest bands in the world.
And I will say, from clips I've seen, their stadium shows,
dude, they're incredible. They're incredible. So I saw them at a festival in 2011. Yeah, I think it was in Ireland. Yeah, and like I went, it kind of been like, oh, they can't play. Yeah, like, all right, I'll go watch them play Yellow. Cool. Yeah. And I left being like, holy shit, that was one of the best gigs I've ever seen. Yeah. Like, it is definitely top 10 gigs for me. And I'm not a massive Coldplay fan. Yeah. Like, I like their stuff, but the live show is phenomenal. Yeah. I just think, like bands, you can see the bands that have done that, like, path. Whereas, like, you see artists that just suddenly explode on social media and they're huge for 10 minutes and then they disappear into the ether, never to be heard of again. Yeah. And I think it's just like a societal shift. But I also think it's interesting if you look at like music history, like it's kind of almost cyclical, because like in the 60s, bands like the Beatles or whatever would be like, they would play tons and tons of shows, you know, and then like they would use the money from gigging to fund recording an album that would then go back to gig to record the next album. And then it kind of like changed in the 70s and 80s, and it became like you would record an album to gig.
Yeah.
And then like now I think it's kind of coming around the other way, where it's like you gig to record again. I think it is kind of cyclical in that sense. So I'm hoping that venues will keep kind of fighting on. You got the Music Venues Trust, like Enter Shikari have been a big massive part of selling tickets. So like a pound from every ticket will go to funding local smaller venues. So, and Coldplay actually have just mentioned it. I've just taken this on board with their stuff as well. It's part of the Music Venues Trust stuff that they do. I mean, I think Enter Shikari are one of the most important bands of the last 20 years for what they do for music, on a music level, but also on a like societal level as well. And I think that mantra of like the bigger bands have to look after these venues. I think there has to be some kind of responsibility on these bigger artists, because they know without those venues they wouldn't be where they are. So pay homage back to that. Pull people up with you. Like, I think that's an attitude I've always had, where it's like, I don't want to step on people to get where I am. I want to bring them up with me. You know, so it's like, you know, like I left Note Machine, you were still there, and you know, you hit me up, be like, I want to record something. I'm like, yeah, of course I'll like play with you, man. It's not because it's like, oh, whatever. I'm a musician now. I'm a full-time musician. You're not, therefore I'm not gonna, like, screw that. I'm like, no, man, come on, let's go. You know, it's that attitude. I think more bigger artists need to get on board with that and have that, like, looking out for the little guys, because it's otherwise we're not gonna have bands and venues. We're not gonna have festival
bands
headliners.
are already like you see less and less bands every single year. Solo artists, you see a new one comes up every week at this point. But bands are steadily decreasing, and I don't know whether you know, that's a case of like, you know, like you said, the whole like cycles and stuff. Maybe at some point bands will come back up and they'll go crazy. But like, I was talking to Petey about it months ago, and he was like, the main reason like you'll see stuff like that is because a solo artist is easier for a label to manage, because it's just one person. And like with a band, they got like 4, 3, 5 people they got to deal with. If it's a solo artist, it's one person, and they can probably change them, and like they'll be a bit more malleable and stuff, and listen and stuff like that. It's depressing. It's really depressing. And I don't think it helps with social media, because like you mentioned before about the value for music and stuff. And I think a song no longer has to be good for it to be a hit. Like musically it could be just all over the shop, but if it hits on TikTok and there's one catchy part in that song, it's over. Suddenly that artist everywhere.
Again, we talk about Bowie and we talk about Beatles and stuff, where it's like, you look at their careers. They, like, Bowie wouldn't have got to Ziggy.
No,
the Beatles wouldn't have got to Sgt. Pepper. Because like Bowie's, I love Bowie. I wrote my dissertation on Bowie in uni. Bowie's first album's terrible. It's all over the shop. You got like the laughing gnome and shit like that. It's awful. But and then you look to, you know, like
you can see the progression. Like him trying. Like what was Ziggy was his 4th or 3rd album.
It's insane.
Trial and error. And error. But you don't get that opportunity anymore.
No.
If you don't hit it off straight. Although saying that, man, I mean, Sabrina Carpenter's like 26, I think, or something. But like, she's been doing stuff for like 6 years. And nothing stuck. Nothing.
Yeah, Silver Chapel Roan, she's been at it for like 10 years. Like,
and none of it sticks apart from like one song. Again, TikTok.
Blows up and that's it. You're off. Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. And I think it's that. But it's letting musicians cook. You know, it's like let them cook. Like, let them like try stuff, mess up, you know, like, and have that slow build. I think it's instant fame goes away instantly. Whereas if you've got a long-term solid fan base, like one of my favorite artists and bands is the Dresden Dolls and Amanda Palmer. And Amanda was one of the first people to do like the Kickstarter for an album. And she runs Patreon now.
Yeah.
And I said, like so many musician friends, I'm like, start a Patreon.
Yeah.
Because it's such a direct way of people that give a shit about your music paying for it. Not in a... And I think musicians get weird about it because it's like, oh, I'm kind of like prostituting myself out. But it's like, well, you're not. Because it's like, all it is for someone to say, I'm going to give you $1 a month. Or a pound or wherever you are. But like $1 a month to be like, I like what you do.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even the price of a cup of coffee.
No.
Like, just be like, have $1 a month from me. Just be like, keep going.
Yeah. And especially with like streaming and stuff now, when like, you know, even if it's an artist you like and they put out something, chances are you're not going to buy that album. You're going to stream it.
Yeah.
So like, if
I'm guilty of it. I love music, and
I
listen to everything on Spotify.
Yeah,
because it's convenient.
Yeah.
So if there's an artist, I'm a part of Amanda Palmer's Patreon because it's like, yeah, I'll give her $1 a month.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah, I love what you do.
Yeah.
Just keep going on. Just keep keeping on. But if you have 100 people that do that, that's $100 a month.
Yeah.
Suddenly that starts to add up, and then if that grows, and obviously there's tiers and things, you know, and you can more directly reward your fan base by being like, hey, you know, like we all do is, you know, TikToks of us like, hey, I'm in the studio, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you save that for your fans, to be like, here you go, you get that first. You get to see what I'm up to first. You're directly communicating with your audience more than if you're just shouting into the void that is social media.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you have to build that fan base.
Yeah.
But that's where gigging locally, and I really respect what you're doing for like your hustle, basically, of being like, no, I'm not going to play 100 random shows in London. Like, I've done it. I've played in, like when I was singing and playing guitar, like I went to, I can't remember the venue, Fiddler's Elbow in Camden. I'd be like, oh, sick, we've got a gig in Camden, it's going to be amazing. And turn up was like 5 people there. It's like, why the fuck have we driven all this way for nothing? Like, and again, I got like 20 quid and a can of beer. Like, thanks, man. Yeah.
I experienced that 3 times and then I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like, I would much rather sit at home and make a bunch of video content for social media that's going to get more engagement. Yeah. Than that. But in the same time, then I'm not playing music live. So it's that trade-off of like, but I want to do that. So it's finding that balance of things. But yeah, like you're much better to like play, you know, if you live in a small town, wherever it is, Wales, England, who cares? Like, play shows there. Play the shows in your hometown so that people who are in your hometown are like, oh yeah, you're that musician guy, you're cool, I like what you do. Yeah. Get them involved in your Patreon. Suddenly you've got 40 people who are paying you $1 a month. It's like, okay, well, cool. I can, in 3 months' time, I can use that money to go and record a new song. And then I can give it to those people and be like, thank you, because you've given me this platform, I can give you more music that you like. And then win those people over, they're going to get more people involved. You're going to slowly build that way. I think that's such a more sustainable way of making music. But it's hard. Like, again, it's hard to win people over, and it's, you know, it feels weird because you're taking money out of their pockets or whatever. Yeah. But you think like the cost of everything, like in the UK right now, is a cost of living crisis, right? It's because he lives, and everything's so expensive. So it's super hard to say, give me £1 a month for that, and people are going to be like, mate, I can't afford to feed my kids, like or whatever, you know. So it's hard. It's a balancing act, but I think there needs to be like a societal shift in how we treat music as a commodity, because it's an art form at the end of the day. You know, it's, if there wasn't, imagine how weird life would be if there wasn't any music, right? Like anything you do, like day to day, you get up, turn the radio on, no music. Yeah. If you still listen to radio, or, you know, you get up and your alarm goes off and it's just your alarm sound. And then you get in your car and you listen to silence as you drive to work, and then you sit at work and do your job for 9 hours with no music. Yeah.
But people won't know until it goes.
Yeah. And the thing, it's the same with art. Like, you're going to look at, you know, well, okay, cool. So any TV show you watch has got music on it, or like, okay, cool. There's no artwork involved in anything anymore. So, you know, it's a thing that we need to look after because it is so vital. I always argue music's the 5th element. Like, it's such a, you know, vital part of everyone's being. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you like German hardcore techno or death metal or jazz or pop punk, or like, it doesn't matter what you like, you will like something. So when people say I don't like music, I'm like,
my brother's like that. He's like, I don't really listen to music. It's
I'm like,
wild.
you do this something that you listen to, or but even like podcasts, right? Like this, like without Petey's knowledge of audio that's come from music, this probably wouldn't be happening right now.
No.
So it's all like, it's so important. I think it's part of the lifeblood of society, music. And I just think we need to value that. We need to like show and reward that. I'm not saying like, give me millions of pounds.
Yeah.
That would be very nice.
Yeah.
Please do
I won't
that.
say no.
But like, yeah, if anyone's got a couple of mils spare, I'll happily take it off your hands. But yeah, I just think, yeah, like it's little things like the Patreon and things like that where you can directly reward people for helping you. Seems like such a more sustainable way of doing it. And then these bigger artists need to get involved and look after the venues that will put bands on that are trying stuff out and being weird and wonderful and kind of crap, because they will become the future headliners of these festivals. And if we do that and we look after each other, it's sustainable. Because it feels at the moment music's very wobbly. It feels like there's nothing kind of solid to stand on in the music industry at the moment. Everyone's just kind of trying to figure out what's the next big thing. Oh, TikTok's huge now. Get on TikTok. And like, I'm not on TikTok.
Yeah.
I was for a bit when I was doing my daily drum stuff. I updated my phone. I didn't install TikTok. I've not been on TikTok for like a year and a half now.
Yeah.
It's great.
The whole being a musician and being sustainable, I think it's also, this is where social media can actually be really useful, because if you do make a big enough following on there doing your music stuff, one, you would hope it increases the people that listen to you.
Yeah.
But two, I mean, this one of the reasons I'm doing this, and like I don't always post music stuff on my TikTok is because it's trying to almost have like a full circle of stuff that I do.
Yeah.
So like to me, this is more content.
Yeah.
And like, if people like this, then what I do, cool. And then the idea would be, if you get a big enough following in this, if they don't like the music, fine, whatever. But if they like the podcast, cool, they stick around.
Yeah, it's for your personality as a whole, isn't it?
Yeah, and then you grow there big enough in the hopes that someday you start making money off of it. And you're like, cool, now I can sustain like the music side of things more and quit my job because I am making money off of it. Because like gigs and stuff, I'd be honest, the most I've ever made is like 50 quid.
Yeah.
That's it. And I drove to Devon. Yeah. And they were like 50 quid. And I'm like,
yeah,
thanks.
Like, sick, cool, that's all my fuel. And by the time you buy them.
There's no, unless you're already an established band or, covers wedding bands and stuff, I don't think money is in it.
No.
I really don't. And some of the venues, they'll go like, the money you make will be off any ticket sales. And it's like, who's gonna buy tickets to go see? I've never played. Like, what are you on about?
That falls into the category of it's a popularity contest again.
100%.
Because again, it doesn't matter. You could, and I also think you're not winning fans over that way, because what you end up doing is selling tickets to your mum, your dad, your cat, your dog, your sister, your brother, and like that. Then it's like, well, these people are gonna support you regardless. So it's like you're not winning over anyone new.
No, and that's what got on my nerves a few times with the gigs in London, because we worked with promoters who didn't promote.
Yeah.
They were like expecting us to do it. And I'm like, so what are you doing?
Yeah. Oh, it's been a Facebook event.
Yeah.
Like, cool. Yeah. That's the bare minimum, dude. Like,
but we're selling all the tickets. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Really, I don't know. Like, I love playing gigs. Love them.
Yes.
But
it's what I'm most passionate about. I love being on stage.
Yeah,
that for
me
me
too,
is like what music's about. Like, I love recording. I love all aspects of what I do. But like, like, I even like playing weddings and stuff is great fun. Like, I think for me with my job, the best thing is that I get to bring joy to people.
Yeah.
Like, that's like,
if you see one person enjoying it on stage, you're like, sick.
Yeah. Like, it's life is hard enough as it is right now, like with everything going on, I don't want to get too heavy or too political or whatever, but like, it's shit across the board for a lot of people. And if I can get up there, play my drums, make you have a little dance and a sing song and just forget about how heavy and crap everything is for 20 minutes, I've done my job. Yeah, I've just helped you, and just have that little bit, and bringing joy to people's lives is so great, man. Like, what a great job to have. Yeah, like, I love that I get to do that. So, yeah, it's just like having that ability to bring that to people is important, I think, and it's fun. It
is fun. Above all else, it is fun, and it's why whenever I do play live, like, it's almost like I become someone else on stage, and I no longer care what like anybody thinks. And like I love the idea of being really fun to watch on stage. Yeah. So when I'm on stage, I might do the dumbest shit I'll never do off stage.
Yeah, of course.
Or like pull mad faces or something. But I'm like, to me, if I was watching this, I'd be like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Like that's so weird.
So people like comment like after gigs or whatever, they come and be like, "Oh, do you look like you're having the time of your life up there?" I'm like, "Cause I am, man. Like I'm just having fun. I'm letting my demons out. I'm just I'm being a goof. Cause like, and I'm having a laugh doing it. But it's like why would I not want to enjoy playing on stage?
Fun,
it always buzz me out. You see guys like staring at their shoes, being like,
"No, I can't.
It's terrible."
Nah. Especially when I'm playing with like the boys Gethin and Sam. Like the amount of times I'm like punching my guitar strings and stuff, or like I'm like using like the headstock of my guitar to bash the cymbals on the drums and stuff. Just fun. I don't know. It just the moment will take you, depending on what you're playing on the song, and you just like you just freak out.
Sometimes it pays off, and you're like, "That was cool," and other times you're like, "That was lame." Like, you've all done it,
yeah.
Or you do this cool stick trick.
I'll never try the trick of like slinging the guitar over and stuff.
Yeah.
I have seen way too many fail videos where they just go flying. I'll never do that. But I do like having fun on stage, like punching the guitar strings, playing with the drums. I've kicked Gethin a few times, like when he's had his back turned to me and I'm booting him. But it's just fun. I do really like playing them, which is why it sucks when you get a bad one, because it disheartens you then for like future ones. You're like, like that was such like a waste of time. But I think on the majority they are more fun than they are depressing. And then it does get sad then when you are seeing venues close all the time. There is one, I do want to shout it out because there's a venue opening in Abbotsford area, another music venue called, I think it's pronounced The Meter, but I could be wrong. It's spelled MITRE.
Okay.
But they, from what I've seen, purely just seem to be like a crowd-funded venue kind of thing.
Oh, dope. That's
so like
cool.
they've started like a Kickstarter, I think, or some funding website where like they are asking people to be like we have no funding, so like we just want to bring music back into Abbotsford area. So like I love stuff like that. I think that's really cool, and I wish the best for them. I'd love to play there when they open. And it sucks. There was a music venue, and they really, really tried their best. Bless them. There was a music venue in Blaina, and I live in Blaina, and I know how depressing that place is. But there was a pub that opened in there. I think it was the Bush Inn. And they started having bands there all the time, and bands that I knew, like bands that I was friends with and stuff. Like the Woodsman, shout out the Woodsman, they're nice boys as well. And they were playing there, and I was talking to someone who had been there, and it's like, oh yeah, like they pay the bands, and like they won't charge people at the door, but they'll pay the bands to play. And I'm like, that's so rare. No one does it. But the depressing thing is they closed. They closed. They lasted a couple months.
Yeah, it's rough, man. Like, I think it's community. I think is what it all boils down to, is that there has to be a better community. Like, I think back to growing up, I was really lucky in Brecon. There was this great little music scene that was happening. But on the wider scale, you had like in that, early mid 2000s, like South Wales was a hub of amazing bands coming out of South Wales. You had Lost Prophets, but you had a great bunch of guys.
Talk about them.
Great bunch of guys in that band. Screw the singer. Then you had Funeral for a Friend, Kids in Glass Houses, Said Mike, the New 1920, like Misconduct. Like there were so many great bands in South Wales in that full Ponty that year. And it was just amazing Welsh bands across the board, of every genre, and they would all muck in and help each other out, and it was such a great music scene. And I think like now that's kind of lacking a little bit. Where like, I mean, you've got like big Welsh bands now. You've kind of got like Holding Absence, absolutely smashing it, lovely bunch of lads. Shout out to the Holding Absence guys. And they're kind of there like leading the forefront. You've got a few other bands with them. But there's no like scene in Wales particularly. There's a couple of bands doing stuff. But I think Hot Announcers are trying to champion that a bit. Like, fair play to them. But yeah, I think a cross-genre scene where it's bands supporting bands, helping each other out with gigs, creating that it makes it exciting so that people want to go to gigs.
Yeah.
Because we said that I think that the problem is that a lot of people they're not bothered about going to shows because it's like, and again, like I understand
back to money as well.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, why would you pay 15 quid to see a bunch of bands you've never heard of?
Yeah.
Like I get it, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same breath, it's like, well, you don't do that because like one of them might be sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like community aspect of stuff is so important. I think it's creating that scene where it's like, fans are supporting artists, and then artists are supporting other artists, which will help venues, which will help. It's doable. We know it exists because it's happened.
Yeah.
So it's just how do we find that and make it work again? But I don't know the answers. I'm just
no. We'll just talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it forever until
and complain. But none of us have answers. All right, well, we'll go to more fun discussions now.
Yeah, sorry, we're really deep. And sorry, bummed you out for the day. Now. We go home.
I drive home. What is the point in any of this that I'm doing? Like, Jesus.
No, bring people joy. If nothing else, it's that, man.
All right, 3 fun questions. Here we go.
Okay, go on.
Who's your biggest drumming inspiration?
Biggest drumming inspiration? It's so hard, man. It's like pick your favorite kid.
Yeah. Or give us a top 3.
Okay. That's still really hard.
I can't go I'm not going to go like 20.
I think even that would be hard. Taylor Hawkins always comes to the top of the list for me, RIP. But also Josh Freese.
He's great.
With Foo Fighters, just because both of those guys, like Taylor, what I love about them and what I try to kind of bring in with my own playing, like sort of alluded to, is I try to be like a Swiss Army drummer.
Yeah.
Where, like I can kind of like, you need me to play country, I'll be in a country band, man. If you need me to play rock, like heavy rock, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like I want to try and be able to kind of fit in with anything so that I can play a lot. And those guys, I think, are just exemplary at that. That like Taylor, obviously, before he joined Foos, was played for Alanis Morissette.
Yeah.
It's like that's wildly different styles-wise. And so with like Josh Freese, I didn't realize until quite recently that like Josh played on like so many of my favorite albums growing up. Like he's on the Good Charlotte records, he's on Avril Lavigne's records. Good Charlotte, Avril Lavigne, but also like Michael Bublé's Christmas album. So like the guy's got range. And that's kind of, I'd love to do that sort of stuff. Like that would be, I'd love to be that varied and that busy. And then I guess to join the biggest rock band in the world. I'd absolutely kill it. Like I saw him in London and just, man's a monster drummer.
Yeah, he's fit in really well to that band because that is not an easy thing to do as well, especially with the way that with how things ended with Taylor and stuff. It must have been really, really
some big shoes to fill.
Yeah. But I feel like the fans accepted him pretty quick, and he seems to have blended in real well with them. So props to him.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
cannot have been easy.
Like watching him play live was like, he nailed it. Note for note, perfect. Adding extra bits in and stuff was just like, that's tasty.
Yeah.
Other drummers, should I think? Brian Viglone from the Dresden Dolls was a huge influence on me because he's very theatrical with his playing. And it was the first kind of time I'd seen a drummer really like, they wear like bowler hat and sort of like white clown makeup, and he's really like expressive with his movements and stuff. And it was just the first time I saw a drummer do like not just sat behind a drum kit playing, like he was standing up and doing all this like expressive stuff. And it was just like, wow. I mean, his playing is great as well.
Yeah. It's one of the things I love Trey Cool does, where he'll run around his set but like continue to play it.
Trey's another drummer who's up there for me. Travis, to a lesser extent, I know a lot of people mention Travis Barker. I love Travis, don't get me wrong, he's an incredible drummer. But I was, more like Trey for me. It was always like...
just have fun with it and like do fun stuff.
More like drummers. I'm recently getting really into Vinny Colaiuta, who's an incredible drummer. The guys at Drum Depot have like, been like, you need to listen to this. And I'm like, okay, like listen to him, like, oh my God. That's just currently blowing my mind to bits and is making me rethink everything about how I play drums. I love Ringo.
I love Ringo.
Ringo gets loads of shtick, and I love Ringo, man, because like if is the perfect play for the song drummer.
Yeah.
Which is, again, something that I really like. Technically, you know, I've done my grades and stuff. I can play grade 8 stuff. Like, technically, I can play loads of crazy Latin rhythms over. But if I had played that over, like, trend, you'd be like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, just play a normal drum beat. Like, it's, I always play for the song, I think, is so important. And I think Ringo's the master at that. Like, I know he plays weird and, like, but, like, he's great. And those songs have stood the test of time for a reason.
Yeah, he's also a really cool person. Like, I
love his art. Have you seen his art? His MS Paint
art. Of course I have. Yeah, I love it. It's incredible.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, I love him. Like, I watched that Get Back documentary.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, my biggest takeaway from that documentary was I just love Ringo. He was just like the only guy there who was like happy to be there.
We're just like every day.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, he was just cool. Didn't argue with anyone. Didn't argue with anyone. No bad blood.
His kit.
Yeah, he was just happy to go. I'm like, wow, what a boy. What a boy. Love him. Okay, cool. This one might be a bit more trickier, but I'll give you time because if you take long to figure out, I could just edit out the spaces.
Yeah, I mean, just go, oh.
So I want 5 albums.
Okay.
That like define you. Oof. This isn't to say like your top 5 favorite albums. It doesn't have to be a top 5. I just want 5 albums that you're like, this is who I am.
Okay.
As a person, as a musician.
Oh,
I'll give you time.
Yeah, that's tough. American Idiot, definitely. I think that album is such a like. It just encapsulates so much of my life experience.
Yeah.
Like the whole themes of small town, kind of hating it. I know it's very stereotypical pop punk, but like small town, hating where you live.
But they did it cool in that album because it was like a story. It was it wasn't just a song about I want to get out of here kind of thing.
But I think it's that like it was also the thematic thread of like you go, you know, you move away, you live these big experiences, you make mistakes, you make great choices, you know, the whole plethora of life, which I feel like I had. Like I grew up in a small town in rural Wales. I moved to Cardiff, had all these crazy experiences, lived life. And then I ended up moving back home, which is kind of the final part of American Idiot. And that just, I remember I went to see the American Idiot musical.
Yeah, I missed that. I wanted to go see it.
It's amazing, man. I saw it twice. I saw the one in the Wales Millennium Centre, which was like the big like Broadway production. And they also did it in the New Theatre, which was like a smaller, like more indie production. And that was great as well.
Yeah.
But I remember when I went to see it the first time, we got to What's Her Name?
Yeah.
And I was just bawling my eyes out because it was just like, oh my God, like I've lived this.
Yeah.
Like I've done the whole like small town to a city, crazy experiences, move back home, kind of be like, what am I doing back here?
Yeah.
Like, and it resonates with me so much, that album. Now, like growing up, I just loved it. It was great songs. It was edgy and punky. I was all angsty. And then now I think it's like it just resonates with me so much, that album. So that's and it's 20 years old today.
I know,
so
it's crazy.
It's just nuts.
Insane.
So that definitely. I want to put in Malibu by Anderson .Paak because I love that album. And I think it's it's fun, it's quirky, it's got so many different music styles in the album itself. It's hip hop, it's soul, it's a little bit jazzy, it's funky as hell. But it's also got like, for just a silly thing, but for me, it's like one of the tracks starts, it's got a Yoshi sample in it. And I'm like, I love video games. I'm a massive gamer. So like that, just alone, just be like, tick, that's cool. But yeah, it's such a great album. If you've not listened to that album, go and listen to it from cover to cover because it's so good. Discovery, Daft Punk is another one that I want to put in because I love that album, and it also kind of ties into the nerdier side of stuff for me because there's the whole, obviously the One More Time video, but there's Interstellar 55555. 45. Which is the entire anime to the album. So that video, they did the whole album in that anime style. And it's this weird, cool story that's great. And again, I'm a massive nerd. I love cartoons and comic books and D&D and all that sort of stuff. That's 3. Two more. Ooh, Ziggy Stardust and Spiders from Mars.
Nice.
I think that was a lot of my like teenage years where like I used to wear eyeliner and nail varnish and stuff, and kind of I remember my dad, he's great, my dad's brilliant, he's a northern man, and I remember coming home from like youth club where I practiced with a band, and I had eyeliner on and nail varnish. And I remember him just in the most northern man way possible, just looking me dead in the eye and being like, "You gay or what?" And I immediately followed up by, "It's fine if you are. I just want to know." And I was like, well, one, that's amazing that you're like, one, that blunt about it, two, that supportive about it. And I was just like, no, I'm not. And he was just like, oh, I just wanted to ask because, you know, I was like, he was like, why? And I was like, oh, it's Bowie. Like, is that like kind of like playing a little bit with androgyny, I guess.
Yeah.
But it made me like realize like it's okay to be a little bit different and be weird and kind of express yourself how you want to express yourself. You don't have to conform.
I'll be honest, like talking about that.
Yeah.
The whole reason I wear colorful clothing now is the exact same reason of that.
Yeah.
I watched the Moon Age Daydream documentary.
Oh, amazing documentary.
And I was like, I can like dress different because I had black skinny jeans for God knows how long. Now I got like the baggiest jeans in the world with Sesame Street Vans on.
It's dope,
like,
man.
I
love
got,
it.
Little graffiti on the jeans. I got this colorful shirts. All of it changed because of Bowie and stuff and experimenting with that kind of stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah, Bowie is changed my life, that album. I mean, I wrote my dissertation on that album because it just meant so much to me growing up. And then fifth album, I'm going to put in the new Enter Shikari record, A Kiss for the Whole World. But Shikari as a general, as a band, I think encompass a lot of my political beliefs and sort of thoughts on the world. Again, I said we've already got deep enough on the podcast, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. But I think what they do for music as a band, everyone kind of knows Shikari for Sorry You're Not a Winner. But since that album, even in that album, but since that album particularly, they're just so great at what they do musically. They're pushing boundaries. And Kiss for the Whole World went to number one. And it was purely just based on how loyal their fan base are. And again, live show is incredible. I saw them in Wembley, and I've not seen a room bounce like they did when Shikari were on. They played Snake Pit, and the entire room was a mosh pit, and like in Wembley Arena. And I've not seen that in a long time with bands. It was like, oh yeah, everyone here knows every word of every single song. So yeah, Kiss for the Whole World. And also thematically, I think is an important album because we need a bit of healing and a bit of unity in the world right now. And I think, that theme alone is important. We need to look after our world because shameless plug with the t-shirt, but like, you know.
All right, the last fun question.
Yeah.
Before we round things out, if you could replace the drummer from any band, who are you replacing?
Okay. Ooh. Who would I want to play with? Who do I think I could play with? That's the other thing. Because these all be like, oh yeah, I'll play with Foo Fighters. But like, oh my God, that would be such a stressful job. I'm like, I'm not good enough. Yeah, Foos is one. I think, I'd love to do that. The Foo Fighters gig would be incredible.
Yeah.
I'd love to do something like, I'd love to play with a pop act, like a huge pop act, like a Dua Lipa or someone like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, it would, to be fair. It would be fun.
Green Day, I'd like Trey's job. That would be fun. It's hard because there's so many gigs that you want to do, but it's also gigs.
Could you dance like Trey during King for a day though? And like,
I'll give it a go. Yeah, I'll come out in a leopard print coat and do all by myself. I don't mind. It's one thing to be like, I'd want to do that job, and then it's like, could I do that job? It's such a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be cool. I'd love to play the Dresden Dolls, but it is just the two of them. It's Amanda and Brian. So not having Brian there would be really weird. But yeah, maybe like hop up and do Sing because Brian plays guitar in that. So maybe I could hop up and do that with him instead. Or something. Like just one song. The other band that I've not mentioned that I want to shout out, they're one of my favorite bands, is Space Hog, who they're not that well known. They were huge in the 90s. For like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But every album they've only released 4 albums, but every album they've released cover to cover is stellar. Such great. It's kind of glam rock. It's like T-Rex inspired, but kind of a bit more modern. And they're just so good. And so that would be another band that I would love for the opportunity to play in Space Hog, because I just think they're so good and they're so underrated. And I think there's so many bands of the 90s that get lauded.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is Space Hog not in this conversation? Because, like, for me, I'm going to upset people on the internet, but I like, Radiohead, keep it. Like, I take Space Hog over that any day of the week.
Fair enough. All right, and then the last two things. Do you want to give any venue you want a shout out? One that you love, one that you hate, just give a venue a shout out. And then if you got anything to plug, now's your time.
Now's the time. Cool. Venue shout out. I'm going to shout out Le Pub in Newport, because Sam and the team there are amazing. Like, they give a shit about what they do. Like, everything we talked about earlier, where like they are championing up and coming bands, they give people a go, like, but they also will throw on like huge band, like Cancer Bats played there, like, you know, so they will stick on big bands and give local bands support slots and stuff. But also, like, what they do for inclusion and things like that is amazing. It's really important. People need these safe spaces to be who they are. You know, again, we talked about Bowie and stuff. Like, you be who you want to be. Let your freak flag fly high. But like, yeah, people need safe spaces to be who they are, and Le Pub provides that. So they're super important for what they do. So yeah, thank you, Sam, for everything you do. Shout outs wise as well, I want to shout out the guys at Drum Depot. I've recently started working there with the guys, doing kind of some of their social media stuff, and working in the shop as well.
Yeah.
Again, it's another one of those things that is such an amazing space. It's music retail is having a tough time as well right now. So yeah, support local stores where you can. And yeah, Drum Depot have always been amazing to me. I went in there when I was a student like 10 years ago now. Just to go have a mooch, because I was like, there's a drum shop in Cardiff, I didn't know that. It's on Penarth Road. Go is right next to the old pumping station. There's a big antique shop, it's really cool as well. Go to look at both.
I know that antique shop.
Yeah, well, across the road from there is Drum Depot. And like, yeah, people seem to not know where it is, but yeah, it's Penarth Road in Cardiff. But they're the guys are amazing. They again, it's that community thing. They care about drummers, and they care about your gear and what you're using, and they want to help you. They're not trying to sell you drums because they want to make money. Yeah, they'll help you find what you want and what you want to get, and the sound that you want. So yeah, and they've always been great to me. And I've gone in and been like, I'm thinking about putting this drum head on this snare drum. They're like, why the hell are you doing that? It's gonna sound awful. And I'm like, will it? I think it'd be cool. And they're like, it'll sound rubbish, mate. I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And I do it anyway. They're like, all right. And I do it, and then I come back a week later and they're like, I told you. And I'm like, yeah, you did. So I've learned to listen to the guys at DD. And they're an amazing bunch of lads. They're really great. And again, so yeah, they're supporting the local community of musicians, and also just like Brett at Drum Depot particularly has been really helping me. Just like, I found that my playing recently is like plateaued a little bit, and I've kind of been in a bit of a rut with my playing, and Brett's been doing a real great job of kind of kicking me up the arse and getting me moving again and getting me inspired again. So yeah, thank you, Brett, for that. Shout out to North House, because we're here, and PE has been a huge instrumental part of why I'm a full-time musician. He also gave me a swift kick up the arse to be like, get on with it then, do it. You know, if you're going to do it, do it. And yeah, Pete's advice and stuff has been so valuable to me over the years. So yeah, shout out to PE and North House. Who else? God, there's probably loads of people I'm missing.
I want to thank my mum, my dad,
my girlfriend. Yeah, my family in general have been amazing though. My mum would, you know, like I said, I started playing in bands when I was 13, so my mum would have to drive me to gigs because I couldn't gig, and I'd be playing in the old Le Pub in Newport, and she would drive me down and she'd park outside and just sit in the car, do like emails for work, and then like drive me home like 5 hours later, and she never complained about it.
Everyone go listen to Guilty Party when they release a new song on the 27th. This might be up by then. I hope so. I mean, it depends how quickly I can get it through.
There's a lot of footage right now.
I know, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for talking to me.
Anytime, brother.
This has been Shenanigans.